Hi everybody, Emily Chamel here for Simple Story, and today we are looking at how I created a coastal theme layout using the brand new and gorgeous Simple Vintage Coastal collection. It's beautiful, right up my street with the pink coral and teal. It's definitely beautiful. And there are so many gorgeous papers in there that I wanted to use a technique that would allow me to feature as many of those papers as possible. So I started by hand drawing half a heart, and as you can see, I went away, I cut it, and I'm just showing you how I did it. I simply cut one side, folded it over, and then cut the other side around. I then distressed the edges of my heart and tearing away some strips of paper. So some of it I've cut them first because I wanted them to be the right way around. Some of those I wasn't too bothered which way around they would face, so I just pulled them off the sheet. But I just got that torn edge on all my strips of paper. Once I had finished prepping all of my strips, I then went on to curl the edges around my paintbrush. Once that was done, I looked at how I was going to place everything onto my backing. For that backing, I used the cut-out heart. May as well not lose or waste any paper. And once I was happy with which order I placed all of my strips, I went on to cut out a little bit of green paper just to have the little point of the heart covered, and then I placed all the strips. I cut off straight away what I knew I wasn't going to need, because I thought there's a very, very strong chance I'm going to need those bits higher up in the heart. I may as well not waste too much paper, and I went on to glue it with just simple PVA glue, making sure that all the strips are covered, that there's no backing showing behind. And once I arrived at the top of the heart, where you only need 2 layers apart, I realized I needed a layer extra strip, and I decided to repeat that green again. So I cut that out, tore it, curled it around my paintbrush. I trimmed the backing, making sure that I left at least 1/2 inch around the heart so that there would be enough to cover. And once that was done, that helped me to visualize if I had a long enough strips to make sure that everything was covered. I placed my last 2 bits, and then I applied some PVA glue on the back of the cutout heart that would attach to my curled edges. Because the curls are quite high, I decided to have a flat layout. So I stitched around. It secured the heart a little bit more, but it had also a little bit of texture, and it helps to flatten the layout a little bit. I could have gone and created volume by having a bit like a shadow box, but I decided to go flat for the simple reason that if I had created a bit of a shadow box, there was more risk of the edges of my heart showing, but also because the curls are so thick, I would have needed a lot of foam to create that volume, so I decided against it. I then went on to mount my photograph onto the wood plank effect pattern paper and cut it roughly with my scissors. I don't need to be precise with that for the simple reason that I'm distressing the edges, and it gives it more of a rustic look. I went through the sticker book, pulled out some flowers where I knew I was going to build some clusters. Looking through, just making sure that I'm not missing anything that I'd want to apply straight away. Right now, I just decided that I was going to go with the ephemeras, etc. So I decided to glue my photo to my background, but I didn't press it hard straight away because I wanted to make sure that I would be able to lift it in case I wanted to slide some ephemera behind there. I'm pulling out all the ephemeras I think are going to work, so of course I'm not gonna use all of them. I'm just pulling out what I think could work and what I'm interested in having on my layout, and what I'm not going to use is going to go back in the packet later on. It's always good because sometimes you think you're not going to use something and turn out that, you know, it's you've got a place for it. So just leaving it out next to your layout, it helps you to see what you have, and sometimes something just jump to your eyes that you might not have considered otherwise. And this is the case with those shells and the star. It's something that I wouldn't have used naturally, but I've placed it on the layout and I really love the effect, I really love the look, and decided to go for it on the star. I didn't use the shell in the end, but I used something else that, same again, I wouldn't have normally used. I'm curling all my ephemeras around my paintbrush just to give it a bit more of volume and to give it more of a natural look. It helps to not have just flat embellishments, and yeah, it just creates a bit more interest onto my layout. I am going through some of the other packs, some of the other embellishment, pulled out the layer tag with the black surrounding, and then I pulled out one of the tabs and decided to place it onto a punched tab because I thought it was a bit too small, but also because being stickers I knew it would take on the volume that's behind, and I didn't want it to be like that, I wanted it to lay flat. So I repeated that tab shape but then placed it behind the photo, and I'm just adding a few more details everywhere that I can, looking now for some chipboard elements to decorate. So I'm pulling out the ones that I think I might use and adding some layer flowers, just the mix of foam, chipboard and normal ephemeras, just that mix of thickness and texture. It does add a lot of interest to my page. It's something that I really do like to see. Trimming the layer tag and putting it under the title, it helped to stand out the title a little bit. And I wanted also to add that layer stamp shape because I know that when I used to go on summer holiday as a kid, we always used to send postcards, and it reminds me of that, and it's something that I wanted to add to my page. Those little pink flowers is a perfect example of what I was mentioning before about leaving the embellishment out next to your layout. I wasn't going to use them, but then I felt that my layout needed something that would be consistent around the page, just to tie it all up together. And those flowers were perfect for that. They were small enough that they didn't take over the layout, but at the same time it was that repeated pattern that helped to tie the layout together. I finished it off by decorating with the embellished brads, sticky brads. They are brilliant. They've got a little sticker backing, and that means you don't need to put a hole through your layout like the old-fashioned brads. Once that was done, I just went for a couple more chipboard just to add a little tiny finishing touch to my layout. A few more little decoration here and there, just making sure that I was happy with where everything was. And there we are. This is the finished layout. I hope you enjoyed this process video. Please let me know in a comment if there's anything that you would like to see or that you'd like to know about, and I'll be more than happy to answer your question. Thank you so very much for watching. Bye.